right. Well, welcome everybody. This is day 3 of the multi-state boot camp put on by the Washington State Farmers Market Association, along with us, the Alaska Farmers Market Association, and networks and associations in Idaho, Ohio, Oregon, and Utah. So this is kind of the culmination of a 3-week program, and this will be kind of diving into Alaska specifics. So the first 2 weeks were more general, kind of an intensive training for farmers market managers. And this week we're going to focus in on Alaska. As you can see here, if you want to take a second, if you haven't already, just to let us know who you are in the chat box. We'd love to know a little bit about you, the market organization that you are representing, and then just for fun, something that you love to buy at your local farmers market. We have some in here already. We have someone from Washington in here. Welcome. Someone from the Grow North Farm in Anchorage, from All Dahlia Dept Flower Farm in Palmer, Kenai Local Food Connection. So very cool. Keep those going, but we'll get started. We're just going to do a quick introduction here on the Alaska Farmers Market Association. Most of you know who we are, but we'll give some general information and then get going into our program. So the Alaska Farmers Market Association, our mission is to support and promote vibrant and sustainable farmers markets throughout Alaska. So our whole goal is to strengthen our local food economy through farmers markets. And we do that in a variety of ways that I will talk about here. First of all, we serve 56 markets statewide, which is so exciting. That is up from 45 in 2019, and it has just been growing and growing every single year. So we're hoping to increase this number every year. And one day, the ultimate goal is to have a farmers market in every community in the state of Alaska. So if we're shooting for the moon, that's where we're headed. But 56 markets we're very proud to serve across our state. And you can see on our map that it's pretty widespread. You know, we have Western Alaska, South Central Kodiak, Interior Alaska, and Southeast. So you're here today to learn more about what these state agencies, organizations, and programs can offer for you as farmers market managers. So some of the things that AFMA offers is a robust website of information. So we have lots of resources and videos on there, trainings and webinars like this that you are attending today or watching later through the recording, which I have some exciting news about our website later on in the presentation. But we also have an online directory of our farmers markets. Last year, we expanded that to include food hubs, farm stands, and CSAs. So this is the first year this spring that we have 2 surveys instead of 1, where we're collecting data on all 4 of those groups: farmers markets, food hubs, farm stands, and CSAs. So we will have an even more robust online directory for customers to utilize, but also if you're traveling around Alaska and you want to go to a farmers market, it's a great resource. We offer events, webinars, and trainings like this. This year, we have a farmers market toolkit coming out, which I will talk about in a second. We offer networking opportunities, technical assistance, promotional and outreach opportunities, and materials, etc. So that's a quick overview of what we offer if you are a member of AFMA. So currently, this is what our website looks like. This is just the general navigation. So if you go onto our website, you can find COVID-19 resources, all of our training videos and webinars and events, like I mentioned, the directory on the right-hand side there, and then a whole host of resources as well. This is our directory. So currently we have a Google map that has all of the markets mapped out, and then they are separated by food hubs, farmers markets, and then CSAs and farm stands are on their own. Some of those resources that I mentioned and outreach materials. For example, we have our food wheels. We have a local meal planner, which you see on the right here that shows what's in season in Alaska. But we also have resources on food access programs and COVID-19 as well on our website. So this is very exciting news. This is a super soft release to this. It's not done yet, but kind of just a teaser. Our Alaska Farmers Markets Toolkit is coming in April. So we have been scouring the internet and our partners and finding resources from our farmers market managers and compiling this resource so that if you're a new or existing farmers market manager, you have all of the tools that you need to run a successful market. So we will be doing a very short presentation on this at the Alaska Food Festival and Conference, which is March 17th to 19th. Virtually, and then we will be doing kind of a full release of this at our Alaska Farmers Market Summit on April 8th, both virtual. So please feel free to join us for those and learn more about our toolkit. We're very excited about it. This is just another little teaser of the chapters, so things that will be included in the toolkit. But like I said, it's meant to be a document where if you have zero experience, you're just starting a farmer's market, you have the passion, but you don't know where to start, this will kind of line it up for you and walk you through the steps of starting a farmer's market in your community. So some exciting things that we have going on at AFMA. We have a farmers market promotion program grant. So we are doing a complete revamp to our website, which is very exciting. So that directory is going to get a facelift, and our website should hopefully be a little bit easier to navigate for you guys as that resource. We have our toolkit that is coming out, and we should be doing more webinars and trainings this year and presentations on the toolkit to kind of walk people through it. So very exciting stuff going on. If you are interested in becoming a member of AFMA, please join us. You can join our board, or you can join a committee, a working committee, and you can help us fundraise if you're interested. A couple shameless plugs here. The 2022 Alaska Food Festival and Conference is coming up on March 17th to 19th. AFMA is a proud sponsor of that event, so we do have some scholarships available if you're interested in attending. The application to that or just the general registration are both found on their website, which I'll drop that link in the chat when I'm done here. I didn't feel it was necessary to put it on the slide, but I will put the link in the chat for you. And then our event, the Alaska Farmers Market Association Virtual Summit, is happening on April 8th. We have a packed schedule. It's going to be really an amazing day. And our annual meeting will be happening during that summit as well. And that's when all of that toolkit information will be included. So if you have any questions about this, you can email Robbie, who is here today. She is our executive director, or you can email me, and I'll drop our emails in the chat as well. That's a very quick overview of AFMA and the things that we offer. But for today, we're focusing in on different state agencies, programs, organizations across the state that support you as farmers market managers. So we will hear from the Division of Agriculture, the Department of Environmental Conservation, the Office of the State Veterinarian. We'll hear about food access programs, and then from the Small Business Development Center, specifically the BuyAlaska program. So without further ado, we're a couple minutes ahead of schedule, but Amanda and Catherine, I think Amanda's going first. I will stop sharing my screen and we can move right into our programming. So let me make sure you have the ability to share your screen, Amanda. Perfect, perfect. Awesome. Well, take it away.
Can you see that okay?
Yes, looks great.
Okay, great. Hi, everyone. I'm Amanda with the Division of Agriculture. I'm the program coordinator. So I manage the Alaska Grown program, some of our international export activities that we do, and marketing for the Division of Agriculture. So I wanted to do a quick presentation today just to review the Alaska Grown program and membership, and a review of logo use. We have over 550 active members in our Alaska Grown program, and we just don't have the staff to be around everywhere, to be making sure that the Alaska Grown logo is being used properly. So we really rely on our farmers market managers to make sure that the vendors and those that are using the Alaska Grown logo are protecting the integrity of the Alaska Grown program, so everyone can benefit from this program. So let's see. Computer's moving a little slow. There we go. So just real quick, we do have some farmers market resources available on our Division of Agriculture webpage. If you go to dnr.alaska.gov/AG and you go to resources, farmers market resources, there's some publications on there. Some of them are pretty old, but they can help you get started just with some of the basic information with like market research, getting started, manager and vendor guides, food safety, safe egg handling, and things like that. So there's some resources on there. You can also go to our programs. You can go under our marketing or under our inspection programs. We also have our plant materials center where you can get some research and education materials from there. So that's just some information about our website. So just wanted to do a quick review of Alaska Grown membership. In order to be able to use the Alaska Grown logo, you must be an Alaska Grown member and have met all the eligibility criteria. You can be either a producer or a retailer or an associate. You can use or display the logo for the direct promotion, marketing, or advertising of qualified Alaska Grown agricultural products. And you do need to get the logo directly from the division. So some things that would be prohibited use of the logo is if you're not a member of the Alaska Grown program. You can't use the logo for any political purposes. So if you're campaigning or supporting somebody who's running, you can't use the logo in any sort of political campaign. And then of course, misrepresentation of the logo. So either mislabeling, deceptive packaging, whether intentional or not intentional, verbal assertion, or any other manner where you're claiming you're an Alaska Grown member, but you're not. So also want to do a quick recap of qualifying products for Alaska Grown. This all can be found under our director's policy, which is online with the Alaska Grown application. But just wanted to highlight some of the important parts. To qualify for Alaska Grown, it must be a vegetable or fruit that meets the top 2 grade standards and grown for a minimum of 90% of its life in Alaska. Something that comes up really often is berries, because Alaska has a lot of wild berry products. Wild berries do not qualify for the Alaska Grown program because that doesn't meet the definition of agriculture. It has to be a berry crop that's been actively cultivated and managed in order to qualify for the program. So like plants that are on your property that you're fertilizing, you're trimming, you're providing support to, or fencing to keep the wildlife away from the berries. That then would be considered an actively managed plant. But if it's something that you're going and harvesting, at Hatcher's Pass or some other areas, and then using that would not qualify for the Alaska Grown program. Now, if you have like a processed product where you're using the wild berries as like part of that product, like for example, if you have a honey product that has some Alaska wild berries in it, if that is less than 25% of that processed product, then you could use the Alaska Grown logo for. So it has to meet some of our other requirements for the Alaska Grown program. So seeds harvesting from a product would qualify. Livestock grown in the state has to be in the state for a minimum of 51% of its life. Egg produced from poultry, well, the poultry is in Alaska. And apiculture products such as honey, wax, comb, pollen, while the bees are in state. And animal fiber produced from Alaska grown livestock. And then here we're getting into like the nursery products. So like an imported live woody plant needs to have been in Alaska for a minimum of 2 years. And also needs to have a hang tag stating that the plant was not started in Alaska and the location from when that plant was accumulated. a nursery or greenhouse plant imported to Alaska as a root cutting or propagate and grown to a saleable product with at least half of its production time being in Alaska. A plant, tree, grain, or grass that's grown to a finished product in Alaska. A byproduct or processed product with the principal ingredient needing to have met at least one of these requirements. Water is not considered an ingredient. Sometimes when you're applying for Alaska Grown program, we might ask to see an ingredient list just to make sure that you're meeting these qualifications for the Alaska Grown program. Mariculture products such as Alaska kelp can qualify, but again, it has to meet that requirement where it's being actively cultivated and managed. It can't be wild harvested kelp. It's got, you have to put seed on the line, and it's something that you're actively managing in order to meet the agricultural definitions. And then hemp products, we're starting to get some registrations for that with the Alaska Grown program, but you have to first be registered and have met the requirements of the division's hemp program. And I've gone through some of the testing and met those requirements first before applying for the membership. So sometimes we get people who apply for the Alaska Grown program first. So that will slow down your application. Your application pretty much gets put on hold until you've applied for the hemp program and have gone through all of those qualifying requirements. So once accepted into the program, you'll get an email with Alaska Grown welcome letter with your member number on there. You also receive some digital versions of the Alaska Grown logo, and you can then use that logo to have your marketing materials printed. You can do banners, flyers, price cards, labels, your logo on your packaging. We do offer some materials through the division, such as 3/4 and 1.5 inch stickers at various quantity size rolls. We have price cards, we have produce twist ties, all with the Alaska Grown logo on it. We do have some high resolution files of the Alaska Grown logo. So if you're wanting to have like a large banner made or a tablecloth or a really nice booth backdrop, then you can ask the division to send you one of those high resolution files. That way the Alaska Grown logo comes out nice and clear in your printing. So all that's available at the division. We do have some black and white versions of the logo available as well. Of course, the colored version of the logo is preferred, but there are specific colors for the logo. So sometimes we've ran into issues where like the manufacturer doesn't have the correct coloring or it's cost prohibitive. So if you're needing to do a black and white version of the logo, you can contact the division and get that version of the logo from us. You can also use the logo on your website, social media, any brochures or flyers, any marketing material for your Alaska Grown agricultural product, you can use that logo on. Some things that are not allowed are sale of merchandise with a logo, such as clothing, hats, mugs, decals. That's not permitted. That used to require a separate licensing agreement through the division, which would be approved by the director. The division is no longer renewing those licensing agreements. We're currently in the process of sending out a request for proposals to hire a contractor, which will produce all the Alaska Grown merchandise, which then Alaska Grown organizations can purchase through the division for resale. So we're in that process. The RFP process can take a while, unfortunately, so probably won't be available until later this year. So then I just wanted to quickly cover, make sure that the Alaska Grown logo is being displayed properly. These pictures are from inside the store, but I think it can still be some good examples of what to do and what not to do when using and displaying the logo. So in these pictures here, you can see the Alaska Grown logo. It's obviously not Alaska Grown potatoes. They're out-of-state potatoes, Washington and Oregon. So that's not proper use of the logo. It might be too small for you to even see. But on the second picture, even on the yellow price cards, it has the Alaska Grown logo, but it still is not Alaska Grown product. So that would be considered misuse of the logo. Here's another example here. It's just an Alaska Grown logo, just randomly placed along the side of the aisle. There's chips, hemp seeds, canned food there. out-of-state tomatoes. So this would be a misuse of the logo. Again, here we have a couple of Alaska grown signs that are just kind of randomly placed over Oregon Orchard and some Three Bears products. So when you have your logo displayed, you want to be mindful of what is below or above your logo and make sure it's not misleading or anything that would be confusing to the customer. Excuse me. In this case, I had asked the produce manager why the Alaska grown logos were where they are. And he said, well, we left them up because we're Alaska grown. Alaska grown doesn't represent a person or a store. It represents an agricultural product. So just be mindful when your vendors are using the logo that it's properly being displayed. Excuse me. Here's another case where the logo is not properly being displayed. It's along the top of the shelving. It's under some styrofoam coolers. Sorry, just getting over a cold, so still trying to shake this cough. There's some, ranch dressing there and some out-of-state mushrooms, so that would not, again, be proper display of the logo. Here we have a store that had their own Alaska grown price tags made. And these are great because then they can be used individually on products. You might have a stand that has like a mix of products where some qualify for Alaska grown and some don't. So to have each individually marked where they meet the Alaska grown program, where it's very clear, then that would be proper use of the logo and strongly encouraged. Here we have proper use of the logo. The sign's probably seen some better days, so that might not be the best for marketing. You want to use signs that are fresh and new. You can get some of these signs through the division if you want to use them. But it's very clearly labeled. This is the Alaska grown tomato. There's no out-of-state tomatoes mixed in there. Out-of-state products aren't really going to be an issue for farmers markets, but just making sure that the products are individually marked and clearly labeled is what is most important. And here again, this is great use of the Alaska grown logo on the basil. City Farms had a really nice backdrop made with nice marketing pictures of professional pictures of their basil and their lettuce being taken, and then with the logo. So if you wanted to have like these backboards made with the Alaska grown logo, that's something that you could have made. And if you have any questions, here's my contact information. Sorry, I kind of lost my voice at the end of the presentation, but you can email or call me if you have any questions. Thank you, Megan.
Yeah, thank you so much, Amanda. I'm sorry, I didn't know you were sick, so I hope you're feeling better.
Okay.
Thank you, though. That was fantastic. So we're going to hear from the Division of Ag. We're going to continue on from Catherine Cheadle now. So we'll hear about the specialty crop block grant.
Hi, everybody. I'm Catherine Cheadle. I'm the grants administrator for the Division of Agriculture. And Amanda, I almost texted you chicken soup and orange juice for you. Oh my goodness. Well, anyways, glad that we can all meet together here, and thanks for giving me the time. I just have a very quick presentation on the upcoming specialty crop block grants. And I work with the specialty crop grants and with the micro grants. So today's presentation, let's see, let me get the share screen going here. Can you guys see that okay?
Yes, looks great.
Okay. All right, and does that appear all right?
We are seeing
Are you seeing
your notes in the next slide.
You're seeing the notes. Oh my goodness. Well, help. Sorry about this.
Can you take it out of slideshow? Just hit end slideshow at the top for a second.
Yeah. I'm not seeing end slideshow. Oh my goodness.
Oh,
Aren't you all glad you're not me right now this morning?
you're fine. At the very top, it says show taskbar display settings and then end slideshow. Are you seeing that?
No, I'm not seeing that.
Oh, okay.
Oh, display
Maybe-
set. Oh, show it. Yeah,
Yeah,
display
and-
settings. Okay. Duplicate swap. Show taskbar.
I would just
And then-
end it for a second. Maybe we can
Yeah,
start from scratch here.
there we go. Okie dokie. We will try this one again.
Worst case scenario, I have your slides as well and can share them. if
Hey,
you-
and worst case scenario, you guys have the notes. All it shows is the next slide, right?
yeah.
Oh
It
my
works
goodness. Well, that's kind of irritating. Well, you know what, in the interest of time, if you guys don't mind, this is a
Sure.
fairly simple slideshow here. I do apologize. My goodness.
Would you like
Well-
me to try sharing or you think we're good to go?
Yeah, why don't you go? Well, yeah, you go for it. I added in a couple more little. Actually, you know what? No, I'm gonna go ahead. I just
Okay,
added a
okay,
couple of
whatever.
links in my last slide that I definitely
Perfect.
want to share with you guys.
Okay, we're
Thanks
good.
for
to go.
bearing
And
with us.
we have this, I have the slides available so I can share them out to everybody too later. So-
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, and you guys said you were gonna put them up. I can send you this version. Okay, so specialty crop block grants. This is from USDA funding. What is new? Not a whole lot. Most of you are probably familiar with the specialty crop block grants, and quite a few of your organizations currently or have in the past held one. So I'm just going to kind of go through the overview for the 2022 applications. And that is coming out very soon. It's going to be March 1st through 31st. Main new thing is it won't be a two-phase application. It'll just be one. We're taking full applications throughout the month of March. We're not getting the letters of intent that we had before. Reason is USDA has a 1 month earlier deadline on when we submit our Alaskan approved projects. So instead of 5 months, we're trying to do this in about 3 or 4. It's all kind of condensed down. And so it's just going to be a full proposal. The funding is going to be starting in the fall of 2022, and you can have up to a 2.5-year project and reporting requirements. So we're just going to go through some of the overview. Especially crops, fruit, tree nuts, vegetables, even nursery products. We've had some peonies, really neat Alaskan products like birch syrup. Flowering plants, cut flowers. The majority of these would probably be vegetables and fruits. And we have different trials going on statewide. Currently, we've got, I think, 27 projects, 5 or 6 of which have just submitted their final reports this winter. So we're hoping to issue about that many more per year. So we get 4 years of funding from USDA and then a group every 4 years. Projects run for 2 or 3 years generally. So it's sort of a complicated rotation that we go through on my end. Not specialty crops, they're larger commodities, grains, dairy, corn, not taking hay, sugar beets, hemp. There are other programs for those kinds of products. So what is new? Aside from the Alaskan new rollout of just taking the full application, which is fairly simple, the USDA Division of Agriculture that funds this through Agricultural Marketing Service, AMS, they changed their outcomes and indicators. I'll show you the new ones. There used to be 8, now there are 7. Instead of enhancing all kinds of things, now we're increasing, and they've just made it a little bit more condensed and more workable. Not a huge change, but pay attention to that. Make sure that you've got the current 2022 materials that I'm going to be putting up online fairly soon and making available. There is no match requirement. So this is just a straight 100% grant. It says down in the bottom, indirect costs, while your heads are in some budgets. We won't allow overhead costs. So all of it must be project related. And I can show you an example budget real quick in a minute. And so once they're submitted to the state of Alaska on March 31st, we have a review committee of statewide agricultural experts that looks at that through April. May 3rd is my deadline for getting our approved Alaskan projects
You don't
to
like
the
that, huh?
USDA for their review, which takes all summer. So we won't be able to announce we'll be able to announce who Alaska has approved by May. We can't announce which of our state approved ones get approved by the USDA until late summer or early fall. So the timeline ends up for funding being awarded from USDA through the Division of Agriculture sometime in the fall. So you can sort of see from the upper left there, we'll open up the full applications March 1st, and we'll have links online, and I have a special specialty crop email address dedicated to it. March 31st at 5 p.m., they will be due to us. We'll review, and then we make our decisions within Alaska, but again, subject to review by USDA. They generally don't change too much, but they will come back guaranteed with questions on different program aspects, narrative questions. They've always got some budget outline questions. So the more thorough job we can do on the front end together, and I am definitely available to help, the quicker it can be for USDA to approve opening funds in the fall. So here's this nice circle. And I definitely need to give props to Amanda Swanson, who ran this program for a little bit before I did. We've had several different staff people, and I have access to, I think from 2009 onwards, we've had specialty crop block program. Amanda, you can correct me if I'm wrong. So I'm using some old slides here. But some of the partner examples, the main thing with this one is, unlike the microgrants that goes directly to an individual or an organization or an entity, this one, it does have one entity as the grantee, but we want to see partnerships, or at least we want to see that the research, the production, the marketing, the activities are going to float all boats, as it were. So recipients currently and in the past might include producers, universities, extension services, our soil and water districts, schools, agricultural businesses, not-for-profits. So there are a lot of different kinds of entities that might apply. But again, building partnerships and showing that it's going to have an effect to enhance the competitiveness of the agricultural industry for Alaska overall, not just one producer's profits. It's got to be something that can be replicated or that is of benefit statewide to the industry as a whole. So examples from this year's indicators, we want to increase different varieties. It could be a research grant. It could be to increase consumption, better access to these kinds of specialty crops, sustainability of Alaska grown crops, farmers' livelihoods, communities. So it is not a straight research grant, but again, in that last bullet point there, more than just one operation or entity, and benefit the industry overall. Our priorities, crops or regions not previously funded. So we've got some real creativity. We've had some mariculture, seaweed processing of different kinds. It's really exciting. Food safety, of course, innovative projects, new research with existing crops, or maybe adding in new varieties of things, seeing what grows in Alaska, given our soils and our climates. Feasibility studies for marketing, certainly have quite a few of those. Efficiencies, like that. The full application, a lot of you are probably familiar with. This is pretty standard boilerplate. Need a succinct summary, start and end date for the project. Another new thing this year is, in the past, we have had people pick end dates. Like I just had a project, a current really neat apple juice project. We just discovered their end date was March 1st. Well, 3 years ago when that got planned, that made sense. From now on, every start and end date is going to be starting October 1st and ending September 30th, starting September 30th, ending September 29th, right in that window, the federal fiscal year for USDA. And then my reporting to them on behalf of the Alaskan projects out from there is at their magic September 30th federal year start and end. So we're just going to put all of the projects in alignment with that schedule, whether it's 1 or 2 or 3 years. Nothing wrong with finishing early, by the way. Listing out partners and having support letters documenting that. Having a good statement of the purpose and the impact. There are measurable outcomes, and USDA's format for the application gets a little bit more into how those are listed out. Coherent budget and a reasonable timeline. Who's doing what, when, for how much of the effort, does it match the budget? So again, just fairly common sense, standard kind of sections. Here's an example of a budget. I'm sure all of you are familiar with these kinds of line items. Again, we don't have any indirect or overhead, but your cost to conduct the project can be listed out in these. And the outcome measures this year, there used to be 8, now there are 7. A lot of them are just for increasing that purchasing and consumer consumption, increasing access or expanding production and distribution, food safety knowledge and processes, food safety training, pest and disease control. We don't see a whole lot of those, but that's in there. New varieties for specialty crops, new seed varieties. Seeing, what kind of berries grow in your local climate. We've got things like that. Expanding research and development and improving environmental sustainability. And each one of those outcomes does have some indicators where you check a box or put down numbers of how you're going to show. So kind of measurable outcomes. And I will be producing a video walking through that project narrative of how to apply. So we'll be putting that link up on our grants webpage, and it'll show just going through item by item. Here's what you're looking at in the actual application. So it's less confusion. And the final report, of course, what happened? What are your findings and impact? Listing out the beneficiaries. Again, outcomes and indicators, different challenges, and lessons learned. Personally, that's one of my favorite categories. I wrote grants for about 20 years, and now I'm on the other end for a change. Different challenges and ways that you've solved problems and what has come up. If things do need to shift, for example, the last 2 years, we've had a whole slew of projects that needed to extend or maybe change to a virtual platform instead of an in-person kind of a workshop due to COVID. So it doesn't mean it derailed it. It just meant that there were some challenges and some very creative problem solving that happened. So lessons learned. We really like to know, how did you adapt it? Not just how did you check your boxes? What kind of impact did this project actually make for Alaskan agriculture? And of course, the budget by item, the expenses, additional information that you think was important or what you learned. The scoring, same as previous years. So it's a 100-point system, and I'm putting together a review committee. So if you're not applying for a grant and you have knowledge of agriculture, I really would love to talk with you. We're expecting, well, last year we got about 20 intents, and we did a full application, full review of 11 different projects. So I would just hazard maybe I expect 15 to 20 full applications. So if you'd like to be part of a review committee, I would love to talk with you. There's my shameless plug. Kind of a reasonable point spread just based on what the main portions of the grant is. And this one, Megan, I added in a kind of a neat link, but anyway, this is me. This is the specialty crop block grant dedicated email for specialty crop questions. And this is also the email that you will submit an application to. It's a Word document. You can also put it into a PDF if you're more comfortable submitting that way. But this one is old school. Again, I'm expecting maybe up to 20 full applications statewide. So we don't yet have it on an online platform, as many of you might have experienced with the micro grants. We got 2,500 pre-applications and 1,000 full applications on the micro grant for food security program. And we had to just back up this time last year and get into an online application platform. I'm hoping that next year, maybe we can get specialty crops up on that platform. So you'll just log in online. But again, for this year, we're going old school. There is the email, and you can just send it in by attachment, send questions to that email. This link in the middle is our Ag Grants webpage, and that has information currently on the open microgrants for food security program. That opened up on Monday and it will close on March 30th. Our deadline for getting up the specialty crop block application materials, including a link for the walkthrough of the application document, a link to a Facebook Live that I'm going to do at noon on the Alaska Grown Facebook page, all kinds of different information. That'll be up this next Monday by February 28th on this website. So that's how you can hook right in directly to the application materials. And the last one, this is a fun link. I often get asked, well, what are the past projects? What's been approved and funded? And this link has, I believe, over 30 past successful and completed specialty crop block grant programs on there. And that's what I have. Are there any questions?
Yeah, thank you, Catherine. If it's possible, I typed in the first one, that middle link into the chat, but if you can drop the second one on the past projects into the chat, that would be amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, our farmers market toolkit that's coming out is actually funded by a 2020 specialty crop block grant. So that's a good example of a project that could be funded through that grant program. So
yeah, and that is networking in just an unimaginable number of partners and opportunities and enhancing agriculture. So that kind of thing, it doesn't have to just be what's going to grow in my microclimate. It can be that large and broad as well. I personally just love the variety of specialty crop block grants that we get to work with. So be creative. And if you have a question about whether or not it qualifies, contact me. I'm in, of course, great touch with our USDA program officer, and they're very friendly towards considering different options that are going to work for Alaska. You know, as with all of us, we are constantly making the case that Alaska is a little bit different, and we're excited for this program.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much. Does anyone have any questions for Amanda or Catherine from the Division of Ag before we move on?
And I will put this link in the chat.
Yeah, great.
And good luck and stay in touch.
Awesome. Thank you. If any questions do come up, please feel free to put them in the chat. Even if, you know, when a presenter pops out of this meeting, we can still email them the questions that you have. So feel free at any time if you think of something to put that in the chat box.
And super quickly, I just want to pass the hat back to Amanda Swanson. Is there anything important that I left out or any comments that you have on specialty crops? You have some experience with it?
Yeah.
No, I think you did great.
All right. Cool. Well, we're here. Thanks, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you. All right. Well, we're a couple minutes ahead of schedule. But next up, we have the Department of Environmental Conservation with Lorinda. So Lorinda, I don't know if you want to take a minute. We can queue up your slides if you're ready to go a little bit early. Put you on the spot.
That'd be great. I'm just getting nervous because I was making sure that my presentation's on the right screen. So I'm going to try to share my screen.
Yeah, great. Sounds good.
I need to put it in presentation mode. So that's where I get confused here, is where I put it in presentation mode.
Do you need help getting it to
presentation? Slideshow?
Yeah, it's up on the top bar where it says File, Home, Insert, etc. There's a slideshow tab.
Yeah, I just wanted to stop share. Pause share. Stop share. I have too many screens is the problem. Let's see. So let's see.
I understand. I have an ultra wide screen now instead of 2 screens, and it makes it a little bit complicated sharing too. So there's always something with technology, right?
This is a good break for everybody. So let's see. Are you seeing anything yet right now? Or no, I'm not sharing my screen.
No.
So
Nope.
I'm going to try doing this again. Sure. And then let's see. I think I already have it in presentation mode as a problem.
You clicked on the little slideshow icon on the bottom there and it didn't.
Yeah, it's because I have it on my other screen. Let me just switch screens here. I apologize. Everybody go get your coffee in.
Yeah, stretch, fill your coffee up. Like I said, we're a couple minutes ahead of schedule, so this is just fine. There's technical issues. You can also, I don't think you emailed these slides to me, but if you want to email them to me, I can share them as well. Or we can run through it in this view. It works also just the same, right? It's up to you, whatever you're comfortable with. Oh, I'm seeing a normal presentation mode now.
Okay, there we go. How about that? Are you
Perfect.
seeing something
Yes.
bigger?
Yep,
Okay.
that looks perfect.
And I'll just put my video for a moment. Sorry, my face is all red and I was being nervous. So
okay.
I will go ahead and get started if everybody's okay.
Yes.
You got your coffee? I've got my coffee. And so I'm Lorinda Latka. I'm with the Department of Environmental Conservation with the Food Safety and Sanitation Program. I am located here in Fairbanks where it's 1 degree and cloudy. It was about 20 degrees below zero when I left home this morning. And I'm proudly shop at the Tanana Valley Farmers Market here in Fairbanks. And I'm also a member of the Alaska Food Policy Council. So I really do care a lot about local foods. So if you're a farmer's market and you're having a market manager and you're having a hard time getting information, I'm really happy to speak with you or talk to you at any point. You can email me, call me, feel free to ask questions. So I'm just going to go a little bit over how our program works with farmers markets in the state. If I can get my slides to progress. Okay, so I was thinking, I thought about, I'm from Indiana originally, and just a fun fact that Dr. Coburn, who is following me, she's also from Indiana. So Indiana people are cool people. And I was just thinking of the Tonight Show with, there would always be the top 10 things you need to know. And I just lost my thought, but but I thought, what were the top things that I would want you to know about food safety if you were a farmer's market, and information we would want to pass along to you. And the number one thing is you would want to know your environmental health officer. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about them today, because they really are your food safety consultants, and they are here for you with the state and also with the municipality of Anchorage. They are available to answer your questions, and I think it's really important to have a relationship with them. You also want to know about where you can access guidance so you can share it with your vendors and be aware of food safety requirements, or just so that you know your hazards. And yeah, so you should really know with all your vendors, know what the risks that are associated with the products that they're selling, so that you can just, sometimes people don't know when they come to sell their food at markets about, they're doing their best, but you can really be an educational person to them too, and provide a lot of guidance. I know I've worked with market managers over the years, and I think that you guys are great about just reminding people of what they need to do to meet state requirements and also food safety practices. So just want to give you a little bit of overview of our program and who we are. And I'm going to show you some pictures of our staff. They're really great people. They love to help food vendors throughout the state and food establishments. So I think the key takeaway after this is, don't be afraid to call your environmental health officer. So I think that we're really interesting from other states is that a lot of times the food safety program might be with the Department of Health. We are located in the Department of Environmental Conservation with the Division of Environmental Health. And that also includes the laboratory, the State Environmental Health Laboratory, the State Veterinarian, who you're going to hear from here in just a little bit, and also drinking water and solid waste, and then there's food safety. So we provide direct services throughout the state. And the only place where we don't provide direct services to communities is in the municipality of Anchorage, where they have their own program. But we do a lot of different work. We work with seafood processors, food processors and manufacturers. We work with shellfish, warehouses, retail stores, restaurants, markets, and more. We also do pools and body art. So our staff are doing a lot of different types of work, but primarily they're working with retail food. And we have offices all around the state. Just you can see in the colors here is just where some of our offices are. We have an office in Fairbanks that covers all of northern Alaska, and the Wasilla office. We have our Anchorage office that covers western Alaska. We have an office in Dutch Harbor, offices in Southeast and Juneau, Sitka, and Ketchikan. And just a few more of our staff. Just want to let you know that they're friendly people that you can call for help. And Angela here on the right, she's our retail food technician. She's in Anchorage, and if you call her main number, you'll likely talk to her, and she will help put you in touch with an environmental health officer or another technician that can help answer questions. So again, I just want to emphasize, be really aware of where your market is. If you are in the municipality of Anchorage, you'll be working with them, and they do have a little bit different requirements. So my presentation, what I'm going over is just really the basics. But if you are in Anchorage, please contact the municipality of Anchorage. But outside of there, you can contact DEC. And I just want to, one important thing I think if I was a manager is like, how can I find the requirements and guidance to guide me and to guide my market vendors. And I'm just going to see if this might not open up a hyperlink. So I'm going to do a new share. And hopefully, Megan, that you'll see our website.
Yep,
Okay.
I can see that.
Okay. So just, you know, I think our website has a lot of great resources, but things can kind of get lost. But if you go to food establishments here on our main page, you can get to retail food. And I just like there's popular content about cottage food is very popular. But if you go to retail food, you can see that we have a page for farmers markets that we can look at here briefly, but it has some basic guidance and it has the applications on it. But what I want to go back to and also show you is for temporary food service permits, because if you have vendors that are doing prepared foods, you'll want to make sure that they have permits from us and that they apply for permits. And there's a lot of good guidance on this page about how to apply and the requirements that they need to meet. And also, oops, I'm going to go back to food establishments. And I'm going to go visit the Cottage Food page because there's a lot of questions. I think that you'll find that you'll have a lot of cottage food vendors, and you'll want to make sure that they are a cottage food and that they're meeting those requirements. So this is a page that should have most of the answers to your questions about what food products fall under that and some of the guidance for what is a cottage food. And I'm going to go over that in just a few minutes. It also goes over if they need to test their product, what the testing might look like, and lists of specific foods that are exempt, and then also foods that aren't exempt. So I'm going to pause my share. Actually, I'm going to do a new share and go back to try to go back to my presentation again. How is that? Can you still see it, Megan?
I am still seeing the website.
Okay, so let's do a new share. I'm gonna go. All right, how about now?
Still seeing the website. It might be worth stopping the share entirely and then going back into
Okay,
the presentation.
all right, thank you. I'm getting the audience warmed up for Sarah. How about now?
I'm not seeing your shared screen at all.
You should make me practice. So, okay.
Now we're good to go. Yep.
Okay. So, you know, I really recommend that you visit our website, and there's a lot of really good information on there, but it can be overwhelming. So if you have any questions, make sure you call your environmental health officer. And I'm going to see if I can get this to go to the next slide. Oh, Megan, I'm having a problem.
If you go hover down in the bottom left corner, you should see two little arrows where you can manually.
Okay.
There you go.
All right. So the other big thing that I think every farmer's market manager should know is about hand washing. We have certain places that we require hand washing, but you can have as much hand washing as you want at a farmer's market. And I think we all learned a lot about that during COVID, about how important hand washing is. And it's been great to see when you walk into a farmer's market that hand washing is available for your customers. But why not have it available for all of your vendors if possible, if it's something that they can do? But especially if they're handling food, you know, even if they're touching produce, we don't require it for raw produce, but I really think it's a good idea to keep things safe is to have a hand washing station. And they're really easy to set up. All you need to do is have like a container. My favorite is like the blue gallon jug, the blue 5-gallon jug. You know, just have water warm enough that it feels good to wash your hands, soap and paper towel and a slop bucket. And it's just as easy as that. And so really try to encourage your vendors to wash their hands and have hand washing stations. So food vendors, they're probably one of the little bit more complicated parts of permitting at farmers markets, just I think for market managers, because they have a lot more hazards associated with them. You know, a lot of times if they're preparing foods at the market, and some of them have some pretty complex preparation that can happen. So that there might be prepping and cooking and serving the food and keeping foods cold and hot, and they're doing it in a situation where it's not a normal kitchen, it's a temporary setup, and they're setting it up each time you have a market. There's just a lot of things to keep an eye on, and you'll want to make sure that they are getting a permit from DEC, and just to note, you should be talking to them early so that they can get their permits before the market starts. Usually 2 weeks prior to the market starting, they should get their permits, or they might have to pay a late fee. So I think that's really important to keep in mind. But there's just basic things that you know that they need to be able to do. They definitely need a hand washing station, and they might also have to do dishwashing if they don't have extra utensils that they can bring on site. And basically that's wash, rinse, and sanitize. And they really need to know how to do that, and how to bring enough water on site, and then how to get rid of their wastewater too. And then making sure that they have the ability to keep foods hot enough or cold enough. Again, because these are not normal kitchens, that can be a challenge for them. So having plenty of ice on hot days to keep the foods cold. Making sure that they're able to cook foods thoroughly if they're cooking foods, and that they're also keeping it hot. So I think it's really important. If you're a market manager, you could at a minimum take our food worker training. But I also encourage, and it's not required, it's that you take a certified food protection manager training. It's a more intensive class, but I think it'll give you more of an overview of the hazards for your food vendors. And then these are just some of the main things that we talk to our food vendors about. Again, the hand wash station, having extra utensils so that you're they're not having to touch the food with their bare hands. So, you know, like they can use deli papers, they can use gloves and spatulas and tongs, and then just different ways to prevent the bare hand contact. Making sure that people aren't working when they're sick. Ill food workers cause the majority of foodborne illnesses in our country. So people coming, you know, working when they're sick. So I think that's really hard for people because it's their business and their livelihood, and they're often committed. So there might be situations where they feel pressure to work when they're sick. And again, you know, be familiar with the food temperatures and making sure that food is staying hot enough, if it's hot foods, and it's staying cold enough. And you might just quiz your vendors and say, hey, can you show me how you take temperatures? How can you make sure that your food is being held at safe temperatures? They should also have test strips available, and that's for checking, because they should be sanitizing down usually with a bleach solution throughout the day to prevent cross-contamination. You also want to make sure that they are keeping foods on ice and it's, you know, being held down in the ice. So I just think those are some main things that, you know, when you're walking around as a market manager, that you can make sure that these booths are being set up safely. And you really, if you're a market manager, you're going to probably have a lot of cottage food vendors, and you want to make sure that they are actually falling under that exemption. Cottage foods are generally foods that they're prepared in home kitchens, and they're foods that don't require temperature control for safety. And you know, it's like cookies and pies and baked goods, and it can include sauerkraut and pickles, and there's a wide variety of foods that can be sold under this exemption, but you should be knowledgeable in which ones aren't exempt. And if you ever have a question, guess who you can call? You can call your environmental health officer, and they'll be happy to help you. Just make sure that this vendor does fall under the exemption. There's just basic requirements that they need to meet. They need to be, of course, knowledgeable about their product. They should have a recipe or a formulation to show that the food does fall under the exemption. Sometimes there's a question of whether food, like say it's pickles, is it acidic enough? Or maybe it's something that's real sugary or salty. Have they tested the water activity to make sure that it is a food that doesn't require temperature control for safety? And they're also supposed to be under a sales cap of $25,000 or less per year. And these are direct to the consumer sales, and they should have a label or a placard on their product saying that the products aren't subject to state inspection. These are just some examples of what cottage foods are. There's so much creativity in the state that we see a lot of different products every year. It could be kombucha, water keefers. There's so many creative things that you're going to see at the market. We have some really good, we've collaborated with a cooperative extension on creating guidance documents for home-based food businesses. And I encourage you, those are on our website. And it might be something that you provide to all of your cottage food vendors, or some of these guidance documents that they know and understand the exemption. It also goes over how to prepare the food safely. I think another good guidance document that we have on our website is it's a basic overview of foods that would fall under cottage foods. It's not all inclusive, but it should help get you close. And it also talks about if it's food that requires testing, and because you might ask them, you know, have you tested the pH of that product to make sure that it's acidic enough and that it does fall under the exemption. So other foods that are at the market that you just want to think about is, generally if it's a raw agricultural product and it's just had harvest cuts where they've trimmed unnecessary parts or they separated it from, greens from the roots, that food doesn't need any type of permit from us. They should be handling it safely. And Sarah's going to talk a little bit more about that. Sometimes people want to bag lettuce, but if they do that, they should make sure that it's the consumer knows that they should wash it before eating, that it's not a ready to eat food like the bagged lettuce that you might buy at the grocery store that's ready to eat. And also microgreens. Microgreens don't require a permit from us. Those are greens that have gone beyond being a sprout, and they're usually harvested by cutting. And so they don't have the same hazard as sprouts. Sprouts, however, that's considered processing, and they probably need to get a permit from us to do that because there have been so many foodborne illnesses associated with sprouts. So if you have a vendor that's interested in doing sprouts, make sure you're contacting your environmental health officer and that they are too, so they get the appropriate permit.
I want to jump in real quick and just let you know you have 1 minute left.
Okay. Just again, if you're sampling produce, just check in on that. Make sure that people are washing their hands, that they're using clean knives and utensils for doing that. And eggs, a lot of questions around eggs. You can sell farm-raised eggs at the farmer's market. Just make sure that they're meeting the labeling requirements. It's pretty easy to do. There's good guidance on our webpage, Cooperative Extension and DNR. Honey is exempt, and raw unpasteurized honey. So it's not even considered a cottage food. So no issue with honey. And just want to let you know that you can contact us, visit our webpage, and make sure that if you're in Anchorage, that you're contacting the Anchorage Health Department. Janine Neschheim is a really good contact there, and she does the plan reviews for the Muni. All right, and I apologize that I'm such a dork this morning, and I can't. I apparently need to practice sharing my screen, and I know that Robbie's going to give me a hard time here later.
She shouldn't. You're totally fine. Thank you for your patience with that and everything too, as we worked through some tech issues. And I know it's really hard to condense everything that DEC offers into 20 minutes. So we will share slides out if you have additional questions and want to look them over, since we went a little bit quick at the end there too. But next up, we have Dr. Sarah Coburn. She is from the Office of the State Veterinarian.
Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome.
Thanks. Let's see if how my luck is today. Sharing my screen. Let's see. All right. Can you see it full screen?
Yes, that looks great.
Thank you. All right. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for letting me join you today. And I'm so thrilled Lorinda went before me because she really, I think we have some common themes in some of how kind of we perceive our roles and what how we want to interact with you guys and with your producers. So I really appreciate how open she is and how approachable, and hopefully you get that same kind of contact from our office. And I just I'm going to run through a little bit of what we do at the Office of the State Vet, so you have a point of reference for who we are, and highlight some specific points of interest with grade A dairy products and with produce. I'll see if I can advance. That's the next trick here. Okay, so similar to what Lorinda was saying with kind of the vast array of jobs that they do through the food safety and sanitation, similarly with the Office of the State Vet, we cover more programs than would be typical in other states for a state vet office. We do work with the typical animal health programs and disease surveillance, import regulations for livestock and pets coming into the state to protect our animals and protect our wildlife species as well. We work with veterinarians and complaints regarding animal welfare, fish tissue monitoring for characterizing and tracking contaminant levels, and then working with Department of Health for consumption guidelines related to that. So though, like I said, animal health would be pretty typical. Fish tissue monitoring would be a little unusual. And then we have a couple of food safety programs more specific to the farm production with the grade A dairy and the produce food safety program. So I'll talk more specifically about those. And we just have, I mean, our office, we're based out of Anchorage. We just have Dr. Gerlach's the state veterinarian. I'm the assistant state veterinarian. And then we have one person specifically working with fish, and then one inspector that works with dairy and produce. So pretty small, and we really rely on our partners being producers and veterinarians across the state, because clearly, you know, our little office in Anchorage, we are somewhat limited as far as getting around the state. And Lorinda, again, really kind of paralleled a lot of these same ideas, but really the food safety piece, I mean, food safety is the foundation of a secure food supply. And coming from the veterinary side, where I was a lot more familiar on the dairy end, like very familiar with the production side, really understanding that food processing side and how it gets to the consumer, it's that lens of food safety. And there's a lot for an agriculture producer, a livestock producer. There's a lot to think about when you're starting a business, or when you're looking at a new market, or you want to start going to a farmer's market when maybe you've been doing direct to consumer on farm or something like that. So thinking about all those different parts of the business plan, thinking about feed and nutrition costs, thinking about energy costs, labor costs, all of that that goes into your business plan. And then layering onto that the food safety and other safety considerations. And then the regulations really fit into that. The regulations or requirements, whether they're state or federal, are really a minimum standard to protect the public. And it's related to known risks from outbreaks in the past. You know, some commodities are going to be higher risk, like Lorinda said, cookies and muffins are much lower risk compared to temperature controlled products like meat and dairy and some of those things. So really, you know, minimum standard down here, that's kind of where the regulations are. And there's a whole lot more that people can and do to increase the value and the quality and the safety of their product. And really, when you're looking at selling to the public, there's things that maybe I do in my home kitchen. I wouldn't do it if I was serving it to other people. So there's a different level of accountability when you're selling to the public, and that food, you know, it's going directly to someone to be their dinner. And there's, like I said, there's just a different level of accountability that comes with that. So that food safety piece is really important consideration as people are getting ready to sell to a store, restaurant, or a farmer's market. So the grade A dairy program, I want to spend just a couple minutes of this because we do get a lot of questions about dairy. And grade A dairy program, what we do from our office, it's a regulatory structure that's a partnership with other states and federal government to establish standards across the country. And then it's run by each state. So there's no federal inspector that comes up here to do that. It's all based by individual states, even though each of the states has agreed that we have standards that are set, and that's through the pasteurized milk ordinance. I think there's only 4 states that have not adopted that as their primary regulatory framework. And those 4 states actually have more strict requirements than the pasteurized milk ordinance. So as part of that, it's really to ensure wholesome and safe milk and milk products. Our program also includes cheese. We inspect sanitation at dairy farms, milk processing equipment. For grade A, that does include pasteurization. And then have permits to dairy farms, which is the production side, processing plants, which are the ones bottling and pasteurizing. In our state, those typically are the same thing. The farm is processing their own milk. That's a little different than other states. And also the container, the jug manufacturers also get inspected and are part of requirements under the pasteurized milk ordinance. So as part of that regulatory framework, it's pretty intensive. Milk is considered a higher risk product because the temperature control, it's an animal product. It's there's lots of different points where there could be bacterial contamination that can make people sick. So as part of just the standard program, like I said, a permit from our office, there's monthly testing of the milk itself, as well as the containers. There's quarterly equipment testing for pasteurization to make sure that that pasteurization equipment, the controls are all working the way they're supposed to, the thermometers are all accurate. There's a biannual farm inspection that looks at more on the animal side of it, milking parlor, milk storage, cleaning and sanitizing procedures, milking procedures, water to make sure that, you know, water from an animal area, that there's backflow prevention, so that if there ever is a problem in the water system, there's no way that that water can get to the potable side where the milk's being processed. There's annual water testing if it's from a well rather than from a municipal water source. There's on-farm testing as well as monthly testing for antibiotics, and that's becoming increasingly of concern to the public. So that's part of what goes into that. So within this whole framework, the benefit is grade A milk can be sold to the public, it can be sold to a store, it can be sold to a restaurant, it can be sold on farm, it can be sold at a farmer's market. So that really, that framework and that consistency of inspection and that partnership, like Lorinda was saying too, I mean, really working together with the producer and with an inspector, and sometimes with you know, some outside consultants too, to make sure that everything's being done in the safest way it can be done. The other option we currently have in Alaska is a herd share program. And basically that is milk from an animal that you own. You can consume that milk. It's on your farm. There's no restriction on that. There's no oversight. It's your own animal. The caveat within that is that an animal can be owned by more than one person. So determining who owns an animal, that's where a contract comes in to demonstrate ownership. There's no state inspections of that. There's no permits. But that is the consumer going to the farm where they, you know, own part of that animal or that herd, that they go there and they pick up that milk from them. There was a bill that passed last year to allow cheese and some other products as part of that. Same thing, the consumer goes and picks that up as part of their herd share agreement. Those milk or milk products cannot be sold to the public. They can't be sold to a restaurant. They're not intended to be distributed in any way. So the producer should not be distributing them, driving them somewhere else and distributing them at a farmer's market at any other drop point. The consumer needs to go to the farm to pick that up. And part of that is there's no other oversight. So it's really the consumer's opportunity to see what the conditions are on the farm, to see how the product's being handled. And that puts the responsibility on them to know what product they're getting. So it's really the same general food safety concepts. And I won't go into a lot of detail with that, but like I said, we do get questions about this. And I think as we move forward, several states have gone to sales of raw milk. If we ever get to that point, regardless of what the regulatory framework is, the same general food safety concepts apply. So whether there's an inspector coming to check, there's still things that you should be doing to ensure a safe product at the dairy farm. From the animal health standpoint, one thing is appropriate use of medications. I've heard, unfortunately, more than once, somebody say, oh, hey, I have, you know, XYZ medication from my dog's surgery 2 years ago. Can I give that to my goat? The answer is no. I don't even care what medication it is. It was for a particular reason for your dog. It may be completely illegal to use that medication in a goat. Anytime it's a food producing animal, you have to be very careful and work with your veterinarian and use those medications so that we don't have antibiotic residues or other, you know, residues in meat, milk, or eggs for that matter. So there are strict requirements about that. And having a veterinary client-patient relationship where a veterinarian knows how your animals are kept, they know the management procedures, and they're available to you to work with you on appropriate treatment of whatever condition. Screening for mastitis. Mastitis is inflammation or infection of the udder. And there's bacteria that can be zoonotic that can make people sick that's related to that. So mastitis, I mean, it's just a screen for animal health, but it's also a screen of there might be something going on that could make a person sick. So there's different ways to do that. And milking procedures as far as cleanliness and how your facility is kept and how the animals are handled right prior to milking. Facilities, similar to any other food facility, you know, easily cleanable walls and floors, and restroom and hand washing. Hand washing, that comes up routinely with food. And then handling the product, having food grade bottles, jugs, and containers, not using some random, who knows what glass jar that's had whatever other product in it, making sure that it's clean and sanitized in a way and that it's appropriate type of container to put milk into. Having potable water available for cleaning and sanitizing. Where you're handling the product, that there's not other animals. There should not be, you know, chickens wandering through the barn and then you're trying to pour milk, you know, into containers in a barn. That's not a food safe type of facility. Pest control, rodents certainly can carry pathogens. And then temperature control too. So keeping it, you know, at refrigerator temperature. And that's all part of, like I said, what's regulated under grade A, general concepts that whether you have 2 goats or 5 goats, you can be doing that at home as well. There are proposed regulations right now related to raw milk sales, and that's the link to that. That's open till February 22nd. It's really an initial kind of an initial proposal, and we'll see what comes out of that. But like I said, at this time, the only products, dairy products that can be sold at a farmer's market would be grade A products. And we do have 2 grade A dairies currently in the state, one in Kodiak and one in Delta, and both of them are expanded beyond their direct area for just distributing their products. So they are out there.
Sarah, excuse me, real quick, I just want to let you know you have about 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Okay, so for the produce safety program, there is a federal regulation related to produce safety for produce that's generally consumed raw. So for the fully covered farms, there is an inspection about every 3 years, and probably in the qualified exempt category, basically from a farmer's market standpoint, the qualified exempt means their majority of their sales are to a qualified end user, direct to consumer, and they do need to have a business address available either on the product or at the point of sale. So a lot of people at a farmer's market might just have a placard with their farm name and a business address. And then exempt are farms that sell less than $25,000 of produce. They don't have any specific requirements. The qualified exempt, it's really to have that business address. And then the fully covered farms do have a set of regulations. And the farms, not that you would need to track that down, but just to be aware of what the farms are using. And there is a proposed regulation from FDA right now related to agriculture water that's used for irrigation and other purposes. And the original regulation was really based on a water testing profile. There was a lot of problems and concerns with that initially. So they've just recently put out a new regulation looking at more of a risk assessment to allow for flexibility from the farm, depending on their crop, commodity, weather conditions, adjacent land uses, a much more broader approach. So that is currently open for public comment. Definitely contact us if that's something you'd like more information about. And that's really all I had, just kind of thinking in that broad big picture about that food safety piece, and really thinking about, you know, our consumers are very different levels of education, different levels of English proficiency. So really thinking about how do we protect the consumers so that they're safe products at our markets, and that people are doing the things they need to do to make sure that we have a good foundation for that industry. I've got.
Awesome. Thank you so much. There was a lot of really great information in that presentation. We have 3 minutes. Does anyone have any questions for Dr. Coburn? You can feel free to unmute or drop it in the chat if you'd like. No burning questions at this moment in time, but again, if you do have any questions, please drop them in the chat. I saw Dina in there dropping some links and things too, so check those out as well. And if there are no questions, then we will continue on. One last call. Everyone's good? All right, thank you again for being here, Dr. Coburn. And we will have Erin Faschultz up next to talk about some food access programs. Welcome, Erin.
Hi, thank you. And thanks, Megan, for putting all this together today. I know that it takes a lot of coordination and a lot of time, so I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Yeah, especially with all the technical difficulties and whatnot. So let's see if I can do it, shall we? First, you can see me. Okay, so see the correct view?
Yes.
Okay, so what? First of all, my name is Erin. I live in Juneau, which is pictured behind me on my screen. This is Juneau. It is a real place. It is gorgeous. But I work for the state of Alaska for the Division of Public Assistance. So what I am here to talk to you about are a couple benefit programs that farmers, farm stands, farmers markets can profit off of. So to start, I am going to focus on two of the programs that I personally oversee. So we're talking about the WIC Farmers Market Nutrition Program and the Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Program. And what's good to know about that is they are federally funded nutrition programs. So this is federal dollars being issued to Alaskan citizens to purchase fresh, unprepared, locally grown produce, herbs. And for seniors, they can purchase honey. The participants that we're serving are your customers or are your potential customers. So for WIC, WIC is a supplemental nutrition program for women, infants, and children up to the age of 5. So we're talking about pregnant moms, moms who have just had their baby and are breastfeeding. We're talking about brand new babies and children up to the age of 5 who really need a lot of really important nutrition, and produce is a great source for that nutrition. For seniors, we're talking about a population that is pretty much living on a fixed income. And sometimes that fixed income is not a lot. So we provide benefits to low-income seniors over the age of 60 who live in Alaska. Some details for you. Where do these people get their benefits? So for WIC, we have local WIC agencies across the state, and they issue to those women, infants, and children. And then we also have volunteer agencies in areas where we have farmers markets that distribute senior benefits. And again, these are volunteer agencies. So we really got to give them a round of applause for doing the work on the ground to get these benefits to their senior in their communities. How much are they getting? That's a good question. It is a federal program, so there is a cap that the federal government will allow. So for each senior, we are providing them $35 a season. And then for every WIC participant who's eligible, it's $30 per season. That may not sound like a lot, but when you're talking about, say, a family of 3 for WIC, they could be coming to your stand, to your market, with $90 worth of checks that can be used to buy fresh produce from farmers. And then a senior married couple can have about $70. So it adds up, but it is per season. So they get issued those benefits once per year. Those benefits are valid from June 1st through the end of October. So hopefully they have ample time to visit a market and to use all of their checks. And I noticed I forgot to change the word coupons to checks. In the past, they have been coupons because they haven't been processed through a normal bank. But in the last few years, they have transitioned to checks. So if you hear coupons and checks, just know it's the same thing. What are the benefits? I've kind of already listed a few, but our programs are really, really strong on the nutrition and the healthy eating. We want to teach those children to eat healthy early. We want to introduce them to new foods, to be excited, to pick their own foods from your stand, to go home with a recipe idea and be excited about getting in the kitchen and making something to eat. It also provides our seniors some healthy options because in some parts of the state, if not all, it's more expensive to eat healthy than it is to walk the inside aisles of a grocery store where everything is highly processed and it's cheap. So we want to get them some healthy food and we provide them the dollars to do that. And these dollars are coming from the federal government. So we are getting and we're inserting federal dollars into our local economies, into the pockets of our local farmers to help support that business. And it's providing another revenue stream. And I can't tell you how many times I've talked to our participants, whether they be senior or the younger generation of women, infants, and children, where they go to a farmer's market for the first time with their checks in hand, and they go to the same farmer every single time. They have that new comfort level and confidence that they can go there and use those benefits. They have that trust and that relationship built with that farmer. And that's where there's a huge opportunity for you as market managers and farmers to build those relationships, those new relationships that are just so good. There's nothing wrong with those relationships. It's just so many positives. So the question is, I know this is a very busy slide. So depending on what you are representing, if you're a farmer and have your farm, or if you're a market manager, your eyes will go different directions on this screen. So these are very basic criteria to be eligible. So to be an authorized farmer, to accept the checks and get paid for them, you have to grow at least 33% of the produce you sell. You have to be open for business at least 3 hours on a consistent day of the week, at least one consistent day of the week, and be open for at least 8 weeks, again, consistently every week for 8 weeks between June 1st and October 31st. I haven't seen many people have issues meeting that criteria, so hopefully you do. And then your sales location also needs to be consistent. We are talking about low-income participants who sometimes don't have a reliable mode of transportation. So we want them to feel confident that if they are going to put forth the effort to get the kids ready, to go get on a city bus, to go visit your market, that you're actually going to be there. And if they get there and they can't use their checks, that is super frustrating. And we've heard that people just don't want to put forth that effort if it failed the first time. So we want it to be consistent. Now, for the market managers, your markets cannot actually accept checks and receive reimbursement for our programs. However, there are other benefits to applying and getting authorized as a farmer's market for our program. And I'll explain that here in a second. So for your market, you have to have at least one authorized farmer at your market. And then the same other two criteria, you have to be consistent, open, yada, yada, yada. Now, for a market authorization, I and our programs help promote your market. We can distribute benefits to our participants in your area that will give you some additional traffic at your market, and again, additional promotion. So that is kind of what you get out of your market authorization. And what we get out of your market authorization is, I'm gonna skip ahead here. We have, it's a federal program, like I mentioned, so we have to have a matching requirement. We have to match 30% of our administrative budget. And the way that we do that is that at the end of the season, I email you and ask you for a list of expenses. And we can report that as an in-kind contribution. So that helps our program exist in the state of Alaska, basically. So without that, the state would have to pay the 30%. And that in the last few years has been very challenging. So we sincerely appreciate the market managers who apply and help us out. In addition to that end of year report of expenses, we have an annual training that's actually going to come up here in the next couple months. It's a 30-minute phone call, basically. It's very easy. We ask that the market managers assist our farmers, provide some assistance. And again, if you don't have the answers, you can let me know. And then we do visit markets occasionally. So just be available for training, monitoring, that kind of thing. Again, we try to make it very simple. Some requirements for the farmers. It's the same training. You guys are all going to be on the same training call, so it's the same. You need to know what you can and can't sell. So again, nutrition program, you have to, you don't have to. So the only products that you can receive reimbursement for from our program must be Alaska grown, and it has to be unprepared. So no diced cucumbers. It has to be the whole cucumber, like that kind of thing. And then all the checks that you accept throughout the season must be deposited by a November deadline, which will be clearly stated to you and shared to you. It's not a secret. And then again, just be available for training and monitoring. And that's pretty much the gist of the requirements. So how do you apply? It's very simple. We have three very simple documents that you need to submit by May 15th. Those documents are the application, which is like a 2 to 3 page, very basic information. Where are you selling? What's your contact information? What are you selling? That kind of thing. We have a 1-page banking information form, which just tells us what bank account you want your reimbursements to go to. And then the agreement. The agreement, I think, is 8 pages. It details what your responsibilities are, what our responsibilities are, and so forth. We also have a web page where all those documents can be found. If it's easier for you just to email me, that's fine. I can email the documents to you. I can mail them. I will make them available as many forms as I can to make it easier for you to submit. Again, application deadline is May 15th. So how can we help promote your produce? So if you are authorized, we'll give you a sign. We show that sign to all of our participants so they know what to look for, so they can easily identify your stand as a approved authorized site, and they'll come straight to you. We will try to help educate our participants on produce preparation, but you are the best source probably of information for that. So you can help them as well. And then what we really find successful is if the farmers themselves provide recipes on how to use the produce that your customers are buying. People love that. It's super simple. Just even printing out little pieces of paper with a quick recipe goes a long way. So that's just a quick little tip for you to consider this year. And then let's switch over to SNAP. Just disclaimer, I am not a representative of the SNAP program. However, I do have some experience and knowledge to share with you. It's going to be very basic. But for SNAP, the authorization to become a SNAP authorized location or market farm does not go through the state of Alaska. It goes through the federal government. So you have to get authorized through USDA. Once you are approved through USDA, you have the option of getting set up with equipment to process SNAP benefits. I will tell you that in the history, it's been mainly physical devices that you swipe a card through. But nowadays with technology, there is now an app-based point of sale system. So if you have a smartphone, if you have a tablet already, you could potentially start processing SNAP purchases through your phone, through your smartphone. So if you're interested in that, let me know and I'll put you in contact with the right people. Or you can go to this website. It's called MarketLink, and you can apply to see if you can get free equipment. Sweet, right? Super easy. And then I wanted to throw in a plug for the National Association of Farmers Market Nutrition Programs. They facilitate the MarketLink program. They have received the grant from USDA to facilitate this online application for free SNAP equipment. They are also just been awarded another grant to create an online ordering platform for SNAP farmers. I currently am the president of said association. So if you have questions about that, you can email me. And the association is open and encouraging farmers to become members of our association. As a member, a growing partner, it's $100 per year. You get access to some national representation and advocacy. We've got some ongoing webinars and tools, resources. And we also have a national conference coming up in September if anybody is interested in attending. So yeah, feel free to visit the NAFMNP website for more information, or you can shoot me an email. But that is my presentation today. Hopefully I sparked some interest, and hopefully I will hear from a bunch of you soon. But I can open it up for questions if we've got time.
Yes, we have about 5 minutes. So if anyone has questions, I didn't see any in the chat, but you can feel free to unmute yourself. We always get a lot of questions on food access programs at the farmers market. So this is great information. And if you're comfortable with it, we will probably pull this and put it in our toolkit, just so it's available to all farmers market managers.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm excited for farmers market season. I don't know if you guys can tell. Super. I get to travel outside of Juneau to come visit you all. So super excited. I'll wear my mask, I promise.
Does anyone have any questions? If not, then if you would like to drop your contact information in the chat, Erin, then people know where to direct those questions and you can direct them accordingly or answer those questions if you have those answers. Thank you. And thank you for talking on SNAP as well, just so we have a general overview of that. We wanted to include that information. I appreciate you including that, even though it is not completely your area of expertise. Still great information. So thank you so much. So if there are no questions, then we will continue on. Next up, we have Katie Ashball. I apologize if I mispronounced your last name, but she is with the BuyAlaska program. Welcome, Katie.
Thank you. Can you all hear me? I'm just using my AirPods for the first time on this platform. So do you guys hear me? Okay.
We can hear you, yes.
Okay, great. All righty. And you've got my screen as well?
Yep, everything looks great. I can see it.
Perfect, thanks. Okay, and I can see you guys. So hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Katie Ashbaugh. I'm the program manager for BuyAlaska. And BuyAlaska is a program under the Alaska Small Business Development Center, which some of you may be familiar with the SBDC. They provide free business advising services, and they're really an amazing wealth of knowledge. That's a completely free service for anyone that's looking to start a business or for looking on advice on growing their business. And they have a number of workshops and webinars that you can participate in. And so you can learn a little bit more about how to get involved with the SBDC on their website, or you can reach out to me at any time and I can direct you to their services as well. But yeah, just wanted to give you a little bit of a background about our program. Today, I'll be talking about the BuyAlaska program and telling you why the Alaska Small Business Development Center decided to relaunch this program in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic, and some of the ways that our program can help farmers market managers, and some of the ways that you guys can get involved. So starting off with a little bit of background, BuyAlaska exists because there's really a need to support as many small businesses as possible in Alaska and encourage the growth of our local economies. And I'm sure that most of you already know Alaska small businesses really are the backbone of our communities. And what many of you may not know is just how much of an impact the success and the growth of small businesses really do have on our local economies. They really bring us together. They are employers of our people, and they enable Alaska to flourish without the dependence on out-of-state food and supplies. And as I'm sure all of you know, it can be quite volatile due to our remoteness. So the University of Alaska Center for Economic Development actually recently did a study on the impact of a shift in spending from non-locally owned businesses to locally owned businesses in Alaska, and the state supply chain, business revenue distribution, and the economic impact on local jobs and wages were all factors that were assessed in this study. And their findings were that at non-local businesses, an estimated 22% of business revenues are staying in the state. And then when we compare that to money spent at locally owned businesses, we're seeing 63% of business revenues actually staying and recirculating in Alaska. So to put that in other words, a dollar spent at a local business has almost 3 times the impact of a dollar spent at a non-local business. And one of the big reasons that we're finding that locally owned businesses are having more of an impact is because they're more likely to use local suppliers, utilize other businesses as service providers, and also spark innovation and collaboration on new opportunities. And all of this results in money that's spent in our local economy actually recirculating and growing. And this is something that's commonly known as the local multiplier effect. Some of you guys may have heard of that. So just taking a little bit closer look at what this actually looks like for us in Alaska. We did see some of the largest differences in retention coming from the resale of goods and services. So as I mentioned, local small business owners are more likely to work with other local suppliers, and we're seeing a really large retention of those revenues as a result. One of the other big areas of strong retention is coming from owner profits. So Alaskan small businesses are much more likely to keep their profits in Alaska and circulating versus non-locally owned businesses, where those profits almost immediately leave the state. So one of the other things is also we're seeing almost double the retention of employee wages and benefits come out of locally owned businesses. So this retention really does benefit our communities and fuel our local economies. One of the other interesting areas that we found from this study is that local businesses also tend to have more of a vested interest in the well-being of the community. And so they are giving more to Alaskan charitable donations, and this really does further support our networks of nonprofits and service organizations. So what all of this really means is that when an individual is choosing to spend their money at our local businesses in Alaska, they're really supporting not just one business owner, but this cascading system of Alaska businesses and people. So this is really some of our key messaging and some of the key points that we're trying to get across to all consumers in Alaska. And I hope that some of this information can be useful for all of you as you go on and start farmers markets, because this is some of the messaging that's really having an impact in helping to get that point across and get people shopping small. So we definitely welcome everybody using this info. So we did want to make this a little bit easier to conceptualize, and the CED study took a look at what a $20 per week shift in household spending would amount to over a 1-year period. And they found that with just the small shift in household, $20 a week per household, an additional $103 million in revenues would be retained for Alaska businesses, and that would otherwise be leaving the state. $215 million more would be going into the pockets of Alaskans in the form of wages, and an additional $431 million is added to Alaska's GDP, and that's every year. And this is only for resulting in a shift in spending of $20 per week per family from the chain stores to our Alaskan-owned businesses. So why are Alaskans buying outside of Alaska? Well, we all see it, and I think many of us have been there. It's the convenience of shopping online, the influence that we're seeing from media and marketing, and some of the consumer habits that develop as a result of that. And I think that we find that in Alaska, many people simply assume that the price, the quantity, and the selection that we have here is not suitable for people's needs and is not available. And so that is really where the BuyAlaska program is coming in. Our program goal is to encourage consumers to shop from Alaskan-owned businesses first in order to keep that money in Alaska, keep it strengthening our economy, our communities, and our food security. So we want people to be changing their habits to simply think local first before turning to other national retailers, national suppliers. And we're really wanting people to, make it easy for people to shop small and discover what is available and what you guys are providing to them. So we have defined Alaskan owned as local, and so that does include franchises, because what we're seeing is that the local retention is happening when owners identify as Alaskans and are able to use other service providers in their area. So a little bit more about kind of the principles of our program. Our mission is to amplify Alaska businesses through connection, awareness, and access to resources. So we see BuyAlaska as a hub for consumers to connect with Alaskan-owned businesses, but also for Alaskan businesses to connect with one another. Our program has really become an awesome medium to showcase Alaska businesses and also build pride for our businesses out there. And what we're really trying to do is bring awareness to what is available in Alaska, and also bring awareness around the important difference that it makes when you're looking local for these items before turning to those national retailers. So we are we're really aiming to give businesses the resources that they need to amplify their business as well. And we do partner with many other amazing businesses and nonprofits that are also working to achieve us, and that really helps us to reach our goals. And then we're also aiming to give consumers the resources that they need to shop from Alaskan-owned businesses. And so I'll dig into that a little bit more and how you guys can take advantage of that. So our vision is ultimately that by supporting small businesses, we're hoping to build economic resilience for Alaska as we emerge stronger together. The health and the well-being of our communities, economic resilience, and improved food security are all benefits that come as a result of lifting up our small businesses and growing our economies. And then finally, in our actions, we value community, collaboration, and prosperity. So we really do see this as a system that flows together and it embodies what we represent as our program, which is Alaskans working together to create a prosperous state. So one of the most notable initiatives to achieve our goal of increasing consumer spending at local businesses has been the launch of our Alaskan owned business directory. And I do recognize a couple of you up there already, which is amazing. And I hope some of you guys have had the opportunity to check this out. Since our launch of the directory, which happened early last year, so we've really just had the directory live for just about a year now. We've had over 750 Alaska businesses that have come to the website and joined the directory. And the ability to catalog what Alaska small businesses, farms, and food suppliers all have available to Alaskans is really opening up new opportunities for Alaska businesses to sell to consumers statewide and beyond, and increase that resilience and that security. So with more demand comes more growth, and more innovation, collaboration, and ultimately our vision of prosperity for our state. So when businesses sign up, they create their own business, unique business listing page, and it has all of their business information. It has their own branding, contact information, and everything that they need to connect with potential customers. So the site gives you a unique URL that you can share, and some of this can be really helpful for some businesses that are more brick and mortar style that don't necessarily maintain a website or have a big web presence. And when businesses do create their listing, the business owner actually has the ability to kind of take ownership of that page and make changes to their listing at any time. So that can be really helpful as the business grows, or you want to add new photos, you know, things change over with contact information. So it's helping keep all that information up to date on the directory side and make sure that we are connecting consumers to the best that we can. And these business listing pages are also searchable by keywords. They're searchable by their location. And we also have a special filter feature if they sell made in Alaska and Alaska grown products to help direct more consumers that way. And then we also have an option for people to select for the businesses that ship right to your door. So kind of trying to eliminate that need for Amazon, because you can get things shipped right to you, which I know is, you know, something that a lot of folks might be looking for. So the directory has also really opened up the ability to better categorize and visualize what we have available in Alaska. And most recently, BuyAlaska partnered with the Alaska Food Policy Council and the Alaska Manufacturing Extension Partnership to bring more visibility to food and beverage manufacturers in Alaska. And we're really excited about this page because it breaks down what food and beverage products are made in Alaska, and it makes it really easy for consumers to connect with food manufacturers and the distributors, and also to find the local farmers markets and food hubs that are in your regions. So we're also really proud to celebrate diversity in our small business community. And when a business owner creates their listing, they're able to self-select if they identify with one of these categories. And these criteria are available as search filters and also as dedicated pages, which we are continuing to work on. And so we're just making it easy to find, support, and grow diversity in business in our business community. So it's no secret that social media is a powerful tool. So in addition to the directory, we've built a really strong virtual community that is supporting Alaska small businesses through social media. And hopefully many of you guys are following us. One of our favorite ways to engage consumers is through our social media member moments. And so we've been highlighting one of our business members, giving them the opportunity to share all of the great stuff about their business with the world. And any business that signs up with us, which is completely free, all of our services are completely free, they can be featured on our social media channels. So this can also be really great for businesses who are not super active on social media. It can reach potential customers that might be outside of their network, statewide and beyond. It's yeah, really awesome way to have a strong reach. We also use social media and our digital mediums to promote our monthly campaigns. And the idea behind these campaigns is really to prompt opportunities for customers to engage in local purchasing. So just kind of building that pride and yeah, just giving more opportunity for people to get involved in shopping local. This month we're highlighting Black businesses during Black History Month. And next month we'll be focusing on Alaska's manufacturers. So it'll be a great opportunity to highlight all of the food and beverage industries and handcrafted products, fabrication, all of our great manufacturers in Alaska. So we definitely lean on social media to help build our network and really looking to grow and just amplify our businesses through our platforms as much as we can. So we definitely encourage everybody to submit for a member moment. So as I mentioned, in an effort to help connect businesses with customers and also to kind of take the sting off the cost of doing business, we've teamed up with these partners, FedEx, Constant Contact, QuickBooks Online, Dell, and Edible Alaska. And all of these folks are providing exclusive discounts for our members. So these discounts are available to any business that creates a login for our website. And then all you need to do is visit the members page on our website, and then you'll be able to take advantage of some of these discounts. And that can be really useful for extending your reach.
Hey, Katie, real quick.
Yeah.
Looks like Jeanette has her hand up. So I figured it might be a good time for that question if it's in relation to
yeah, sorry, I
discount.
kind of missed the chat.
No, that's okay.
Somebody can go ahead and jump in. What's the question?
I'm sorry, that was an accident, but that's a very, very powerful website. That's what we've been trying to think about designing here in the Soldotna area, because we have the small paper and on our website, Kenai Local Food Directory. But yeah, to have a statewide thing, it's just very exciting. I'll contact you later. Thank you.
Well, please do. And thanks for that. I'll get into this here in a sec, but we really do value collaboration, and we want to help leverage our resources for your purposes in any way that we can. So however we can do that, we're more than happy to work together. So yeah, kind of just wrapping things up here. We all know that the effects of this last year and a half have really underscored the importance of building a strong and diverse economy in Alaska. So especially over the past several months, we've seen that online ordering and supply chain can be really volatile. And one of the statistics that I'm sure most of you guys are familiar with is how Alaska imports 95% of the food that we're purchasing. And so as a state that's separated from the rest of the lower 48, we really need to put a strong focus on developing and fostering sustainable business growth in Alaska in order to strengthen our food system and to create that economic security by having a diverse array of businesses and create that resiliency that we really need in Alaska. So we really aim to be a resource for helping make these connections that are necessary in order to make that happen. And then, as I mentioned, we really aim for BuyAlaska to not only be a connector for consumers and businesses, but also a resource for other businesses to find and use Alaskan-based business services, source anything possible that they can in Alaska, and also to collaborate with other Alaska businesses and spur innovation, new manufacturing opportunities right here in Alaska. So we do really hope to be a hub in order to encourage that sort of growth. And, BuyAlaska is really a network of people, businesses, organizations, events, communities. It's really everything Alaska. And in order to grow our program and really maximize the amount of money that's staying here, giving the most benefit to Alaska businesses and the most benefit to our communities, we're going to be most successful as a statewide effort. So again, we're really proud to kind of serve as that hub for that. And then here you see a list of our current partners. These organizations businesses, chambers. They've really immensely helped us grow this program over the last year and a half to what it is. And each organization that you see here has really joined our effort with the understanding that fighting for small businesses is really important and something that we need to put a focus on. So as you can see, and yep, as Robbie mentioned in the chat, we're really stronger together, and together we make quite a powerhouse. So you know, one of the biggest strengths through this network is the reach that we're able to have across our state. And so we're really proud to serve as the force that's kind of uniting us there. And so we do aim to further grow these partnerships, and we invite and encourage collaboration at any level, as many of you all take on new initiatives to serve Alaska. So please do reach out. And, you know, finally, there's just kind of wanted to wrap up with some of the ways that you guys can take advantage and some of the ways that you can get involved. You can really help us grow Alaska's economy and our food security by becoming part of our network. List your business on the directory and encourage other Alaska businesses to do the same. We want to see every single Alaska business out there on the directory. Submit for a member moment so that we can feature your awesome businesses and help send more customers your way. It's a really fun way to engage, and we love getting the member moment submissions. It's definitely one of the most fun parts about my job. And encourage consumers, please, to use the BuyAlaska as a resource to find products and services in Alaska. We're really hoping to make it just a go-to resource for consumers to find Alaska products and services. And then you yourselves, please do use the directory to find other Alaska suppliers across the state. And we encourage you to get on there and see what other fantastic businesses have their products for sale for your businesses. So we would also love for you to be involved in furthering our mission to lift up Alaska businesses and build that resiliency for Alaska. So we love collaboration. Reach out to us with ideas. And then we also really want to share out all the amazing things that you guys are doing and all of the awesome things that are going on across Alaska. And we really need your input in order to accomplish that. So let us know about the events, the resources, and the opportunities that are going on in your community so that we can share those and help amplify those. And as I mentioned, social media is a really powerful tool. So help us expand our reach across Alaska. Please like, follow, and engage with us on social media to help reach as many people as possible. And then finally, please keep an eye on what we're up to. Sign up for our monthly newsletter, which is the BuyAlaska Buzz. And we can keep you up to date with all of the local goodness happening there across the state. So thank you so much for your time and interest. I really hope that BuyAlaska is a useful resource for all of you as you get your farmers markets off the ground. And please reach out to me at any time for collaboration ideas, to amplify Alaska businesses, to clarify how to take advantage of any of the offerings that I mentioned, or for any more information on our messaging that you guys can share out. So thank you. And I'm so happy to take any questions if you guys have any.
Thank you so much, Katie. I put your email address in the chat just now so people can contact you if they have questions. I probably should have, now I'm realizing, used the BuyAlaska one that's on the slide, but
no, my personal one's great. That's perfect. Okay. Yeah.
Perfect. But if anyone has any questions, we do have about 20 minutes left. So we'll leave space for Q&A. And this can be in relation to any of the presentations you heard, as long as the speaker is still here. I know Lorinda had to hop off, but I think everybody else is still on here. So if you have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself or raise your hand if you'd like to. There's a little raise hand option down under your reaction button, and we can open it up for questions for a couple minutes. If there are no questions, which is okay, I will do a final shameless plug for the Alaska Food Festival and Conference, which is coming up March 17th to 19th. Registration is open, and AFMA is a sponsor, like I mentioned before. So we do have scholarships available if you would like to apply for those. It would cover your entire registration if you qualify for it. So please apply if you are interested in attending that event. On April 8th, we have our Alaska Farmers Market Association Summit, which will be a jam-packed day of really good information again, and our annual meeting where we will discuss the toolkit. Very exciting. And then also, because this has been a collaborative effort with the Washington State Farmers Market Association, we do have an evaluation form, which I will put in the chat here. So if you have any feedback that you'd like to provide, we will be doing this as a collaborative effort again next year. So if you attended the first 2 days of the boot camp or not, you can do the evaluation for today. You can do it for all 3 days. We would just love any feedback that you have so that we can improve this and improve our collaborative effort in the future. So any questions? We have a couple comments in here. I'm glad people enjoyed the information that you heard today and that this was informative and useful to you. So Robbie, I can pass it to you if you have anything that you'd like to add, or we can break a little bit early today.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to all the speakers and to Megan for organizing this day. And just to remind folks, we will be sending this out to every market and food hub in the state, so they will get this information, and we will also be sending it out to our AFMA Summit attendees, and we hope you guys can enjoy us too. I think we can give folks 15 minutes of their day back. Megan.
Yeah. Thank you, Robbie. Yeah, I think if there are no burning questions, you have contact information in the chat. Feel free to reach out to any of us, the speakers, or Robbie and myself if you have questions, and we can get them answered for you. But thank you for being here today. Thank you to our speakers. I appreciate you all being willing to come and share this information with our audience. So thank you so much. Everyone have a good day.